the boat keeps going slower. The ski keeps going slower. It happens. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. In our last video, we changed the pitch of the impeller, and we wanted to see what that would yield. So we're gonna run to the lake real quick and get some GPS numbers, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna work on some other stuff. We're gonna start chasing speed on our 650, on our channel ski, because we want to go faster. We don't want to really necessarily start modifying the ski until we know how fast we can go with it modernized. See, oh, there's a couple people down here. We're at Body Beach. It's pretty much empty. There are a couple of diehards out there. We're gonna go try it out. We're gonna take the 650 out and see what it does with our new rear exhaust and our impeller repitch. All right, let's see what we got, guys. Kind of result we get. All right, 41.2. It's pretty good. Okay, guys, we're back from the beach. As you saw, we gained a mile an hour or two, which is fantastic. We're still not quite where I want to be, but we have one more step to go before we get there. We're going to bore the nozzle next. And as you can see, we've already, I've installed a tachometer so we can start getting some realistic numbers. Because as we approach the rev limiter, it'll actually start coming in before it slams the rev limiter. And as we start tickling it, it will start pulling timing, or pulling spark. So we want to make sure we're right at that pivoting point when we start moving the rev limiter up from there. For right now though, we'll pull the nozzle and go ahead and get it bored. So we got our little nozzle here, and we're going to measure it. Looks like we're 83.3. So we're going to take, and this straw this is for the factory bilge pump. That's our siphoning straw, tube, whatever you want to call it. We'll pull this screw out here, and then we'll drive that tube out of here, and then we'll chuck it up in the lathe, and we'll spin this thing out to about 84 millimeter or so, or 84.5 is our objective. Alrighty, as you can see, my cool little fixture I made 20-something years ago. We'll just bolt the nozzle right up to it, and then we'll bore it out. Okay. 84.5 is our target number here. actually our first cut because there's two humps. There's two humps 180 degrees opposite of each other that we had to bore out first to match the rest of the bore. And that's actually a true nozzle at that point. Now we've made our first cut, we're gonna bore the second cut, and we should be good to go. That looks good. We'll do a cleanup real quick. We're at 84.4. I was aiming for 84.5, but that's close enough. That should make a really big difference. That's 1 millimeter bigger. We're gonna put this on the ski and go to the lake. Hopefully it's not too cold. Okay guys, we're down here at Body Beach. Got my GoPro, got my vest on, got my GPS, and we just bored the nozzle. We're gonna go do a test run real quick and see where we're at. I got the tachometer set up and I have the GPS set up, so we'll get some good numbers here. All right, see what we got here, guys. So we're at 37.8. That's a lot slower, and the motor's not spinning any faster. So let me change camera. Okay, guys. So we've lost a mile an hour or two or so, and interestingly enough, we're not. The reason why that happened is because we're not making any more RPM. Under load, the motor's spinning about 5,800 RPM. And when we come out of the water, I'm actually seeing the RPM go over 6,000. So what that's telling me is, I think the spark is blowing out. I don't think this ignition is strong enough to push us past that limit. So I brought another ignition system. Remember the one in our previous video that we put the leads on, the new wires? It does not have a rev limiter. So it will accomplish both goals. It will actually give us a stronger spark, hopefully, and if the stronger spark works and it's able to rev more RPM, then it'll actually spin the motor faster. And we may end up going back to the stock size nozzle because boring the nozzle did not help our situation. So stay tuned here, we'll change out the ignition. Okay, so here's our old ignition here. We got 4 wires, right? Stop switch. This is our trigger, and here's our new ignition. I say that our new used ignition. This is out of an 86X2. This is the one that didn't have a rev limiter. It's very obvious because there's only 3 wires coming out of it: a ground, a trigger, and then a stop. This is the stop here, and we have to use a stop relay, which is what this looks like, and this gives us our ground. And then our 2 short wires for this is our shutoff switch here. So the only difference is we got to find a place to bolt this inside the electrical box. Everything else is pretty much normal. And we'll get this installed and try it out. All right, guys, got our new ignition going here. Sounds good. It has a little more bark to it, so hopefully this will fix our problem we're having up top. All right, so we're back from Body Beach. We got back from that last test ride and there was a big boat playing loud music. And obviously you guys know with YouTube's policy, we can't have music on the channel. So I had to pack up and come home, which was fine because the boat keeps going slower. The ski keeps going slower. It happens. What can I say? But we were able, through all this testing, we're able to determine, I inadvertently leaned against the steering, the handlebars, when I was on the trailer giving it gas, giving it throttle, and as it revved up, it shocked me, which means there's rogue electricity going through the system, okay? The coil's struggling to find ground. And when I changed the ignition system, I reused all the same, I just did basically an ignition swap, and it didn't help. Right, we're not going faster. Boring the nozzle yielded a slower result. That means that we're not having an issue with porting or port timing, or the engine's producing power. It's holding that RPM. Boring the nozzle, we relieve stress on the engine. We're taking load off the motor. It should let it rev more freely, but the motor's not revving more freely. That's why it's slowed down. At the same RPM with a bigger nozzle, it will yield slower results. If the motor could spin RPM and develop more RPM, then we would be faster. So what I'm going to do is I have another stock nozzle in my stash over here, so I'll grab a stock nozzle and swap it back out. I'm going to take the ignition back apart, and I'm going to check all the components for the grounding rings and the grounding wires. I'll probably take and make a ground wire there's a common bolt that holds all the grounds together, and I'll probably run a wire straight back to the battery. So that gives us a nice clean ground, because I think that's what we were chasing with this other ignition. We run out about 5,800 to 6,000 RPM. The motor can't push past that because it's a resistance issue, right? The spark plug runs out of resistance. It creates so much resistance at that RPM that it starts finding ground anywhere it can, and it blows the spark out. That's what's happening. So we'll try that. Unfortunately, we're out of time this week. We probably won't get another good day of testing here for a couple days. So until next time, thanks for watching.